Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of Pinfalls. This will be our fourth episode. I am Johngy of JohngySpeed.com, and joining me as always, co-host Candace Cordelia. How are you? Entertainment reporter extraordinaire, Candace Cordelia. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Although we were talking before about fall, and I'm ready for pumpkins. I'm ready for pumpkin spice. I'm ready for leaves falling. I'm in that mode right now. It's definitely go time with me for fall. So that's where my head is at the moment.
I'm always ready. I'm always ready for pumpkins. But I'm not sure if either of us is ready for this, but our co-host today joining us, I'll give him the proper introduction. He is a former Resistance Pro Tag Team Champion in Body Magic. He is the the longest reigning Southside Occupational School champ. He's Tommy Ellis. Hello, Tommy. Hi. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us and lending your wisdom and insight.
It's my pleasure, John.
Tommy's going to be on his best behavior because I'm
trying to be good. For those who don't know, John and I participate in a few other endeavors, and I'm not used to taking orders from him, so this is going to be take a little will on my part. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of the discussion. So thank you.
Well, let's jump right in. We're talking SummerSlam. SummerSlam, for some odd reason, is on a Saturday night. It's this coming Saturday night. We got 8 matches.
Are you kidding? I didn't even realize that it's on Saturday. Yeah. Oh well, so it's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm here.
There you go. So we got 8 matches. We're going to hit them off. We're going to hit the men's pretty quickly, and then we're going to focus in on the women's. So the first match we have is for the Universal Championship match. It is the Universal Championship match. We have the champion Roman Reigns defending against John Cena. Candace, first up.
Obviously, it's going to be Roman. As much as I love me some John Cena. I'm so happy to see him back. It's really refreshing. I mean, what we saw from, it was Smackdown, was it? The days are a blur to me right now, but Smackdown. Oh no, I'm sorry. It can't be. It must have been Raw when we saw them go at it earlier this week. I think that was a fantastic prelude to this match. And I really think that the fans are into it. I think that they are really amped to see what comes of this. And no matter who wins, regardless, I think the feud is just going to continue on for quite some time. However, having said all of that, I really do think that Roman is going to retain, and thus it's just going to set John off to do, whatever more damage he can possibly do to Roman's ego going forward with his barbs. So as much as I would love for it to be Cena, I think Roman's gonna retain this one.
Tommy, thoughts?
I agree in that I do believe that Roman is walking out of this one with the belt. I don't think there's any question about that. The one thing I might not agree with is what they do going forward. I see this as a very marquee match. I think this is kind of a one-off. Let Cena go in there. However he loses this, there will be some chicanery or there'll be some reason. Someone's going to interfere. Someone else is going to have something to do with it, or maybe Reigns is just able to wiggle his way out of it. But I just don't see much of a long-term feud with these two right now. If they did, maybe they could push it to like Survivor Series or something, but that would be as far as it would go. I think they've got bigger plans for Roman. I don't know who they would send up against him next, but I don't think that Cena would be there for very long against Roman. I think right now it's SummerSlam. The timing's good because Suicide Squad is out, and so it helps promote that. So you take all that into account. I'm sure it'll be a good match. I'm sure that it's SummerSlam, so it's a great time to bring Cena out for something like that. But I think they've got way too much invested in Roman Reigns. They've worked way too long and put a lot of effort into getting him to where he is now. That it makes zero sense for him to lose to Cena. So.
Well, I agree with both of you, and I disagree a little bit. I think there is going to be chicanery. I think Roman Reigns is going to win. But I do think the feud's going to continue. I think Cena eventually is going to get his 17th title. match one of Flair's numbers, because Flair seems to have 15 different numbers on how many titles he actually has. But I think Cena's eventually going to win, and then Roman Reigns will fight again and take it back. But that's getting ahead of myself.
Well, that's possible. I mean, if they were to have Cena win, I mean, it's been a long time since they did it, but back in the 90s, it was not uncommon for them to have someone win a title the night of a pay-per-view, and then the next night on Monday Night Raw, that person ends up winning their title back. So, I
don't think it's going to happen here, though. I do think Reigns is going to win.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that they're pushing Cena to inevitably get the 17th and break the record, but I still don't know that this is quite it. It just seems to me like they're just doing a marquee match just to have a big name on the card. So
you might say, I can't see Cena winning.
You could say that, John. And
moving on to the next match, we have the WWE Championship. We got Bobby Lashley, the champ, defending against Goldberg. Candace, again, I throw it to you.
My intuition is kind of telling me that, and this might make some folks mad, but I think Goldberg will take this from Lashley. And should he do so, I just have a gut feeling about this. If he does this, it's not going to last long. And it could end up being another slight hot potato situation where Goldberg takes it and then Lashley, gets it back somehow. But I just have this suspicion that Goldberg is just going to, he's just going to take this away, and Lashley's going to get upset, go on a rampage, and then we'll see what happens from there.
Tommy?
I don't totally disagree. I'm skeptical of Goldberg winning the title. I don't think it makes any sense for Goldberg to win the title, but I also think Goldberg being in this match doesn't make any sense. I don't know why he's there in the first place doing this. So the only reason I give Goldberg any chance at all in this is because for Cena to come in and work against Roman and lose, if he loses it, it doesn't really hurt Cena in the long run. He can get away with that. They can have some reason why, and then Cena can go off and do anything after that, and he'll be fine. You can't bring Goldberg in just to get beat by Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam. So I could see, like Candace was saying, perhaps he somehow steals a title, but it's got to be a short-lived situation where Lashley gets it back, like by the next pay-per-view at the least. So I'm betting against Goldberg, but I don't rule out the possibility of a minor short run with the title for him. So, but I just don't think Goldberg with the title is going to draw the way that Lashley will. And I don't think that people are, the only thing I think will intrigue people at that point is waiting to see how Bobby Lashley comes and beats Goldberg's ass and gets it back. And so
who are you going on record for?
If I have to bet the farm on one or the other, I'm going to stick with Lashley.
Okay. I agree. I think Lashley's going to win this. I think there will be chicanery. I think chicanery is a good word today. I think we might see Goldberg's son play a role in this somehow.
Oh, I agree.
I don't know if he'll turn on him or if MVP somehow uses him against him. I don't know what they'll do with it, but I think Goldberg's son is somehow going to cost him this, and it's going to set up a longer term feud. I think Goldberg, unfortunately, will be coming back to still battle Lashley. I'm not thrilled with that match, but moving to a better match, I think we have Edge versus Seth Rollins. Nothing on the line except for pride. Candace?
Edge versus Rollins. This is a tough one for me. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, I love both. It could go either way. I would be more invested in seeing Edge actually win this, but if he does, I don't know what to make of it going forward. So I'm just going to go out on this particular limb and just say I I would love for Edge to win. Do I think he will? I don't know. This one's a question mark for me in some way. I've never said that before on this show, but this one's really like, laughing. This one's really kind of like up in the air. It's like I'm still kind of on the fence about it. So I'm just gonna go and say I want Edge to win. I don't know if he will, but I would love for Edge to win. And that's that.
Maybe it's a tie.
Hey.
I mean, like a double DQ.
Never, right? You never know. Yeah.
Tommy, what are your thoughts?
Well, first off, I'm going to say that I think that this is probably got match of the night written all over it. I think regardless of who wins, we're going to see a great wrestling match out of these two. I think if you're gonna if they want to move forward with this story, I think that Rollins needs to win in order for there to be for this to keep progressing. He really just needs to be a thorn in Edge's side, and he cost him his last big match, and he has really just been like I said, a thorn in his side as of late and everything. The more and more you build up that frustration in Edge, the more the payoff will be, the bigger the payoff will be when Edge finally does beat Seth Rollins. It would be nice if he beat Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and it'll be cool. And like I said, because I think that regardless of who wins, they'll have a really fantastic match. If you want to have a storyline out of it, I think you got to have Seth go over and Edge has to keep kind of fighting, and because it puts a little question in your head where right now Seth is saying that he's the new and improved better Edge. Well, actually, it was Edge who said that Rollins was a lesser version of Edge, and now Rollins is rolling with it, saying he's better than Edge. And I think that if you have that hill for him to climb to get up over Rollins, I mean, even if they just took it to Survivor Series and that was it, that could be a good rivalry to have. So I'm gonna pick Seth Rollins to win it. I think that of all the matches, at least on the men's side, I won't compare them on the women's side, but on the men's side, I'd say that's your match of the night right there. So,
well, I agree it's match of the night material. I disagree with your prediction, though. I think Edge does win. I think it descends Rollins further into his madness. I think it just starts to frustrate him, and he goes.
And that's possible. That's possible too. But then, I mean, the thing is you're going to have a real back and forth going between the two of them, because then he's not going to get off of Edge's case. Exactly. So that's going to keep going back and forth, and then you got to ask yourself, well, how? The time between SummerSlam and Survivor Series isn't that long. And then the next big, stop is a Royal Rumble. So how far are they going to carry this feud? Are they going to go all the way from SummerSlam to the Rumble? Or are they going to just take it to, because I feel like if Edge wins, this thing's got to at least go to the Rumble. It's got to have another 4 or 5 months or whatever into it. I don't think this has legs to go all the way to Mania or anything like that. But But I think that, So, I see where you're coming from. It's possible. We'll see what happens. So
we will see what happens Saturday night, as a matter of fact. The Smackdown Tag Team Championship. It's a relative matter. It features Jimmy and Jey Uso versus Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Candace? Oh, the Usos are the champs, by the way, defending champs.
This is probably for me going to be one of the matches of the night, because it would be really, really nice for the Mysterios to win this. Either way, it's going to be nice because each team has a really pivotal storyline behind them. So to see if the Mysterios win, it would be amazing. It would be heartwarming. It's like, all right, father and son duo. And from there's so many different possibilities. However, with the Usos, there's so much edge to their storyline. There's a lot riding on it. They have the connection with Roman. I believe if they retain this, then that's great. There's other things that they can do for sure. especially with their connection with Roman. And do I think they'll retain? I actually do think so. There's a part of me that would really like to see the Mysterios take it, because just like I said before, their storyline is just so heartwarming. It's there's a lot behind it. There's a lot to root for those two. But, you know, I don't think that they'll be the ones to take that title away from the Usos. It just doesn't logically make sense. It's one of those matches where it's like the dream would be, yeah, take that title from the Usos and then go forth and have fun and have amazing matches with those titles. But at the same time, it just doesn't make any logical sense for them to take that from the Usos. Not those two. Another tag team, sure. Those two, no. So they'll retain. The Usos will definitely retain, in my opinion.
Tommy?
I agree. I think that I don't think it makes any sense for the Usos to drop the titles right now. If Dominic and Ray hadn't already had their moment of winning the tag titles, then I would think that this would be where it would be happening at SummerSlam. I would definitely be leaning towards them. They have already won the titles. I think that Roman and Jimmy and Jay need to all stay on the same page. It's taken so long for them to get all on the same page, and they're finally there. They've got the titles and everything. I don't think this is the time to start messing with that. I say they should all look strong at SummerSlam and come out with their titles one way or the other. And I think that the Ray and Dominic thing has legs in a different direction. I think them as a tag team, they've done a fine job. It's been good for them and everything, but I think they got to start working towards a different direction, where I don't know if they want to let Dominic start doing more single stuff, or maybe even have like Dominic and Ray start kind of having some friction with each other, and then that leads into a feud with them. I mean, if they only have so much time with Ray's career left, you know, they're going to want to take advantage of certain storylines, and you got to have the father versus son at some point. So, you know, I feel like they've kind of had their run as tag team. They've won the titles. Things are good. But I think that there's other stories that they can tell. And even if they stick together as a tag team, you know, there's still other stories that they can tell. And you got to keep some of the main players in their spots right now. So I think, I definitely am going with the Usos.
Well, I too am going Usos. I think the Mysterios implode perhaps on this pay-per-view. If not, then very soon. I think there will be the father-son feud, and maybe they get together at, you know, down the line, and it's Ray's retirement or something. Who knows? But
yeah, I'm sure at some point they'll reconcile after whatever, you know, they do. But yeah, that's a story that needs to get told, and you don't want to jump into things too quick. But at the same time, you know, I think the clock is also ticking on Ray as far as how long he has to be in the company, you know, with Dominic at the same time. So it's like, you know, if Ray still had another like 10 years in him, then you could, you know, take your time to get there. But I don't think he does. So
not as a regular full-time.
Right. Yeah.
So we move to the another match. We've got Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal. Candace?
Another one where I'm like, I don't know. Drew versus Jinder. I'm just gonna go with Drew. I unless they want to swerve us and have Jinder come out of the gate. I mean, it's been a while to see a match like this with Jinder involved, at least for me. But I'm gonna go with Drew. I don't see why, unless they're gonna do something really big storyline wise with Jinder that we didn't expect. I think we're just gonna end up seeing Drew be the victor in this match, and then Jinder will go off and have something completely separate. That's not to knock on his talent at all. I just think storyline wise, it just, once again, it doesn't make it, there has to be some big reason if they have Jinder win this match, something that comes out of left field that we were not expecting, we had no idea was coming, and that would be very compelling, to be quite honest. That would, because I would love to see something like that. But for those two to match up together for SummerSlam. I just can't see any other reason why Drew would not come out winning this match. So,
Tommy?
I think it's a night for the heels for the most part, to be honest. I mean, I'm going the other direction. I think Jinder is going to win this. I think from a booking standpoint, Jinder needs a big win like this. He needs to get over on Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre has been winning all of his matches for like the last 2 years. Aside from his feud with Lashley and everything, but again, it's a situation where McIntyre, he doesn't need the win, but Jinder does. He's just come back, and for some people, they're just seeing him for the first time, because he's been gone for a while. And if people are just getting into it now that the show's on Fox and things like that, there's a lot of new watchers and stuff. But also remember that Jinder also has his 2 lackeys now, which means they're trying to get them over too. So they can't get over if he's not getting over. So I see every reason for them to be pushing Jinder over Drew. I think this is another match that'll be a very good match, though. I think this is going to be, again, not match of the night because I'm giving that to Seth and Edge, but I would put this as a very close second behind the two of them. I think it'll be a great match, and I think there's longevity to it if you do have Jinder go over. If you wanted to have McIntyre keep rolling with him for a couple more months, you can still do that. They've got a lot of history together. They know each other well. They fought each other. They've been on the same team. So I think Jinder is walking out with the win, and I expect it to be a very good match. I think that's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. So,
Well, I think Drew stays on a roll. I think he beats Jinder Mahal, but I do think the feud continues beyond this. But I don't see Jinder winning anyway, unless, as Candace said, unless something really funky happens and they go off in a different direction. I don't think it makes sense for Jinder to win this one.
Well, I didn't ask your opinion, John. So
it's my show.
No, okay.
Sorry. I love that.
Sorry. I overstepped my bounds. My bad.
Know your role. So, as we move to the last of the men's matches, we have the United States Championship. We got Sheamus, the champ, defending against Damian Priest. Candace, as always.
Thank you. This is a match I'm really excited to see. I'm a huge fan of Damian Priest. I would love, and not being slightly biased, but it would be really cool to see Damian win this, because I feel like, we're waiting for, we need some sort of cool storyline with Damian. He had one or has one going. But at this point, there's so much you can do with Damian right now. And for him to come out of SummerSlam winning this title would be huge. It would be really intriguing. I would personally love to see where they take it, where they go with Damian going forward. However, all of our dreams, with this may not come true. So having said that, would I love to see Damian take this? Yes, 100%. Do I think he will? It's 50-50. For Sheamus to lose this title in this fashion, once again, logically, it doesn't make sense. I think he still has some time to keep hold of the title and to have it for quite a longer time. But yeah, I see him retaining it, but I would 100% love to see Damian win this. I think that would be massive, and the options would be really, really very interesting if Damian does come out winning this one. So,
well, don't worry about being biased. We're allowed to be biased.
True.
Absolutely. Tommy, your thoughts?
This is a little bit of a tough one for me. I don't have a lot. I'll be honest. I don't have a lot of interest in this match, but I will say from what I have seen as of late with these two guys, it's tough. I see every reason why they should be pushing Damian Priest. I don't know that he necessarily needs to win the US title to get a push out of this match. I think that Sheamus could still somehow retain the title, but this whole thing makes Damian Priest look very, very strong. On the other hand, I also, like I said, feeling like it's a night for the heels. You got to have a face win here and there, and it is nice to shock the crowd once in a while, especially when with a newer guy. You know, if he comes out and he ends up surprising everybody and getting the U.S. title, you know. So you don't want to be too predictable about everything. And they really have been putting a lot of time in on Damian Priest. And I do like him. I feel like he still has a little time to go still before he's still, I feel like he's still feeling out who Damian Priest is right now. I think he's on his way. He got a real nice push with the whole WrestleMania thing, and they've kept him going since then. But I don't feel like they've really let him expose who he is. You know, like his promos are pretty good. I just feel like I don't know the guy enough. And I feel like we need to get a little more intimate to be invested in him winning it, so that when he does win that US title, it means something and people are excited and they're jumping out of their seats. Not that they wouldn't be now, but they might be more so if we did this in, you know, another month or two or something like that. So the US championship, or is that what it is for the US title?
It is the US title, yes.
Okay. So historically, the US title has been up for grabs in a 5 for 7 Iron Man, you know, set of matches before. I could see them maybe doing something like that with it, you know, after this. Who knows? But if I got to put my money on one or the other, I'm gonna say Sheamus retains, but I would understand if they wanted to shake things up a little bit and maybe give it to Damian. The thing is where do you go with Damian after that? I mean, he can keep fighting Sheamus, but you know, I think some of these rivalries have been getting run a little bit long. I thought they took way too long with Lashley and Drew McIntyre. I mean, at a certain point, I was like, I just don't need to see them fight for the 6th time. You know, it's been ladders and Hell in a Cell, and it's been last man standing, and it's like we've seen every type of match you can have, you know, and I don't want to go through that with these two. So I'd like to see, you know, them just kind of wrap this up or not drag it out too long at least.
Well, I think they are going to wrap it up, and I think it's going to be wrapped up with Damian winning the title, because Sheamus could just go away. The loss isn't going to matter to him. He's going to be the new Big Show at some point, where he just comes in and out and nobody really cares about him. But Damian Priest, I think, has a future, and he's going to start it. He's going to start it now by winning it, and then I'm not sure who he'll feud with then, who his next matches could be. But I don't think it'll be Sheamus. I think that'll be the end of this little rivalry, and I think Priest will go on to bigger and better things with the big strap on this way.
So you don't think so? This is very telling in your opinion of Sheamus here, though. So you think that he's just going to be kind of just a side act they bring out once in a while now or something? I mean,
he's going to be a meat bag. He's going to win some. He's going to win the title on occasion, and he's going to serve his purpose.
A utility guy, huh?
Yeah. Well, there's no shame in that. No.
You don't think they have any storyline plans or any ideas of pushing him?
I think they probably have storyline ideas, but I don't think he's going to get a big push right now. I think this is to set up Priest. It's to get the rub on Priest, and I think Priest is going to get the title and move on.
All right.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's going to be some sort of interference in this match with Bad Bunny, because once again, I mean, it is SummerSlam, and I've been kind of thinking, is there going to be some sort of celebrity, you know, to come in and do something? I mean, I would bet if there was to be some kind of like crazy swerve involving a celebrity, it would be this match, especially because Bad Bunny has expressed, you know, his enthusiasm for wrestling. He put out a great showing the last time we saw him. I think that would be that would be rad if we're going to see any celebrity this time around.
This would be the match. You're right. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that's
sure.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the women's matches. That's why we're really here. This is the meat of the show, if you will. So, excuse me. We have for the Raw Women's Championship. It's a triple threat match. It's Nikki ASH versus Rhea Ripley, Nikki, of course, is the champ versus Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. Candace?
I mean, it's gotta be Nikki. I would be upset for her to not retain it for SummerSlam after the big, I mean, there's so much traction behind her now. Even though, you know, we've seen Charlotte and how Charlotte has been pushed in Rhea. I think Nikki winning shocked a bunch of people, but at the same time, it was and is still refreshing to see her with this title, and to have the spotlight be on her at this moment. So I think she's still going to retain, and there's still going to be some sort of like, you know, feud happening between the three of them, but more specifically between Rhea and Charlotte. But yeah, I'm going to keep this one short because I honestly 100% believe that Nikki is just going to retain. Like they can still play around with that a little bit instead of having her give it up so soon. That would be really disappointing if that happened for SummerSlam. So,
Tommy?
Well, I think I have both my my realistic thoughts and my hopes. My hopes are, in fact, that Nikki does retain the title. I do think that it has been good to have her be the champion, and I am definitely a fan. I would hope. I'm guessing that yes, she will retain the title, and my guess is that I feel like there's more heat between Rhea and Charlotte than either of them have towards Nikki. And I feel like the two of them are going to probably end up canceling each other out, and Nikki will be able to retain on account of that. It's a big hill for her to climb. You know, they're both, you know, great women's champions, former champions. But I think that they want the title, but the way that this whole storyline has been playing up, it's been Rhea versus Charlotte and they really have pushed Nikki off to the side as an afterthought. Like, beating her's not a problem. It's you and me that's going to really have to go in this match. She's just an afterthought. And anytime that they brush somebody off like that, that's the person who ends up taking advantage of it and winning the thing. So to me, that's the logical way, and it still lines up with my hope of her retaining it. I like her gimmick. I think she is refreshing. I think it. I think it is a breath of fresh air to have somebody like her with the women's title and being on the show right now. I think that as much as people have complained about the show being more PG and things like that, they've gotten a lot edgier, I feel like, in the last year or so. And Nikki is kind of a good balance between the two, where, you know, she is somebody who, like, kids and girls and stuff can relate to and look up to and get behind and everything. And I dig the whole thing, so I'll be pulling for her, and I don't see any reason why she shouldn't win. I don't, because putting the title back on Charlotte or putting it back on Rhea, where do we go from there? It's just going to be the same stuff we were just watching for the last 6 months. The only thing new in any of this would be if we kept the title on Nikki. So I say it goes forward with her.
Well, it is going to be the same thing we've seen, but it is going to be Charlotte walking out with the title, which would be her 17th, I believe, which then ties her again with the whatever record that Rick may or may not hold. But I think Charlotte wins this. I think she pins Rhea Ripley. I don't think Nikki gets the pin. I think Nikki stays relevant then. It doesn't really hurt her because she didn't get pinned. It kind of helps fuel the rivalry between Ripley and Charlotte, although I don't know where they go next with Nikki, if they go that way. I'd eventually like to see Nikki team up with, and it's going to sound strange, but I'd like to see her team up with Molly Holly against Ripley and Flair at some point in a tag match.
Do the old superhero gimmick, Mighty Molly.
Yeah,
Molly.
Superheroes, you know, Molly comes in to save her against the evil Ripley and Flair. So
sure.
That's my hope, but.
Well, I think I will say that if she does, if Nikki does lose, I do agree that she will not be the one pinned. No, it will come down between either way. This is going to come down in one way or another between Rhea and Charlotte. So
Now, I was excited about that match, but this is the one I'm really looking forward to. And I know Candace loves both of these. So the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, is defending against Sasha Banks. And Candace, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this one. I've been waiting for a month for this.
You've been waiting the whole time, just from.
I have. Don't keep me waiting. I know you love both of them.
I do. So this might shock some people, but you know what? And it would hurt my heart. But I think that Sasha's gonna win this. We're seeing how things have been leading up, pre-WrestleMania to WrestleMania to now. We've seen what's been transpiring over the past few weeks between Sasha and Bianca. Even the behind the scenes stuff with the fact that this match, at some point, no one knew if it was going to happen. Now we're here, and I feel as though something major like this is going to happen where Sasha's going to win. It's going to upset a ton of people, but I feel that it will be a huge redemption story for Bianca Belair. If this happens, which I think it will be devastating, but at the same point, we're gonna see the storyline really ramp up a bit, and then for a huge, another big pay-per-view, that's when we're gonna have this huge, redemption for Bianca. That's my 100% opinion on this, and it pains me to say that because I want to see Bianca hold this for as long as possible, but I just really think that she's gonna lose it. But we're going to see her storyline is going to just go through another transformation, and it's going to be huge for her and for Sasha, bottom line. But those are my thoughts on that. So.
All right. I had you going the other way, but that's cool.
All right.
Tommy?
I'm with Candace on this. I think that Sasha Banks is probably walking out with the title on this. I think it makes sense from a storyline standpoint. Bianca's had the title since Mania. She's defended it successfully many times. She's been a very good champion. Sasha Banks is finally back. I don't think they're going to bring her back and just bury her right away in her first big title match. And I think there's a lot of legs on this storyline for the two of them. If Bianca had won, if Bianca wins it at WrestleMania, and then you have Sasha win it at SummerSlam, and then you could have them go one more time, say at Survivor Series, or if you really wanted to push it, you could even go as far as, the Rumble or something like that. Who knows? But I think that Sasha will pick it up this time, and then there's going to be a tie-breaking championship match down the road. Because there's a lot of material to work with there for the two of them to have a feud with each other. So I go along with Candace on this. I say Sasha Banks.
Well, let's make it 3. I say the boss walks out with the title, and I love both. I love both.
I do too, but I just, storyline wise, that's what makes sense to me. So
I really thought Candace was going to go with Bianca. I mean, it's cool that we agree. We tend to agree a lot anyway. But I thought this was one that we were going to be opposite on.
Yeah. You wanted to like shove it in my face.
No, I wouldn't say that.
If I had chosen.
Yeah, that's how John is. He's like I said, he's a bully. He just likes to shove it in people's face and make them feel bad about it.
This is not supposed to go.
I'm gonna back up.
I got to get control of this as a moderator here. All right, so we got. We'll straighten out, and I'll figure out. By the way, Candace and I believe, are 11-7 in our predictions overall since we've been doing it. We're tied.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now, I did want to discuss I wanted to bring up one other thing. I know, Candace, you had a couple thoughts, but Charlotte Flair, is she going to stay in WWE? Her father asked for his release. Her husband is in AEW. They obviously the husband, Andrade, would like to have Charlotte there. The rumors that Rick is going there. Will Charlotte follow? I think eventually Charlotte does go there, which is another reason why I think the WWE might give her the title now to try to keep her to stay. but I think ultimately she's going to end up leaving.
Wow.
Thoughts, anybody?
This one's it's a topic where I personally will not hate on Charlotte for going to AEW or if she stays with WWE. I think either way, her career is going to stay fantastic. She really has nothing to lose. And I don't think that anyone would hold it against her business-wise if she decided to go to AEW. That would be a huge get for All Elite Wrestling as Charlotte goes. And it could potentially, change her image in a completely different way in terms of how she's perceived in WWE. I mean, she could be a face if she goes to AEW. And with that saying, I mean, we have rumors that Ruby Soho is going to go to AEW. There's other people that might go. I think when all of these things settle down and if she does go to AEW, that would be magnificent. I would see nothing wrong with it. Do I think that there could be something, storyline wise between her and Andrade? Why not? That would be also interesting. But she's such a huge talent that whatever decision Charlotte makes, we are just living in Charlotte's world. She could do whatever she wants. And I'm not going to be mad at her for it. I'm just going to follow her wherever Charlotte goes. So I'm on pins and needles to see what she decides to do, pretty much.
Well, and in AEW, she wouldn't necessarily be the top of the crop. I mean, they've got talent there, but in WWE, she could kind of get lost in the mix. There's a lot of talented women, as Candace, as you and I have talked a lot about. There's so many talented women there. She does kind of get lost in the shuffle, despite 17 or 16 titles that she has. She goes to AEW, she's going to be shot to the top and be the big dog there.
All right, here's what I think. First of all, I think that I don't know how many AEW people really would care about her being there. To be perfectly honest, I think that the initial shock of her being there would be big. I think that would get a lot of headlines and a lot of attraction and everything. But her being on the roster regularly, and if they were to shoot her to the top right away, I don't think that's very entertaining. I mean, you like to watch people have to work their way up, and even guys who have gone into AEW, like you can look at like Big Show and some other people who have gone from WWE over there, they're not starting out like right at the top. They're not going into Christian Cage didn't go right into main events and stuff like that and stuff. And it's just, I think that there's something to be said for timing. And I think that down the road, that's a big possibility that yes, she could end up in AEW. She certainly will have had her run through WWE, but you know what? She's comfortable there. She's making a good paycheck. Nobody has any problems with her in WWE, and while her husband and her dad, might be in AEW and everything, she's in a very comfortable position with wrestling. And yeah, she can basically call her own shots. But if I was her, I wouldn't go just yet. If they're looking at it, I don't know, like if she's got her contract up anytime soon or anything like that. But I mean, if AEW is talking about Daniel Bryan and Punk and people like that coming over there right now, now's not the time for her to be there. She'll get lost in the shuffle of all that stuff. I'd say 2 or 3 years from now, then maybe it'll be a good time for it. But I don't see it happening right now. I don't think it's good business for her. I don't think it's good business for AEW. And I don't think dangling a title in front of her is really going to make her stay or go, to be honest, because at a certain point, especially when you've had as many as she has, it's only going to entice you so much. So I think, not saying it'll never happen, but I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
Well, I have to object to you comparing Charlotte Flair to Christian Cage and Big Show and all those guys. Charlotte Flair is at the top of her game. Big Show is about 15 years beyond the top.
Sure. She's at the top of her game, but she's at the top of her game in WWE. And yeah.
So you bring her into AEW as the queen, just like Rick came into WWE as the man.
Yeah.
92 or whatever that was. Charlotte was in there, and she, I'm the big dog now. You guys,
I'm not saying she wouldn't be a draw, but I don't think she's as big as a draw as some people might think that she would be. I don't think that it's gonna blow. I don't think it's gonna blow the doors off of anything.
Why do you hate Charlotte Flair, Tom?
I don't. I just think I here's the thing. I do think that she's done just about everything she can do in WWE at this point. She's been a tag team champion. She's held the different women's titles, 16 times or whatever at this point. You're right. There's not a lot of room for her to do anything else in it right now. But I still think timing is important, and I just feel like now is not the time. And you're right. When she comes in, sure, she would, like people would love to see her and Britt Baker and stuff like that. There's a lot of fantasy matchups that you could put her in an AEW setting for sure. But I just think that right now is just not the time. So
yeah, I agree with the timing aspect. The other thing about that too, with Charlotte potentially going to AEW, now that I think of it, is the type of matches, like who she will be matched up with, because you can't even just think about AEW with this forbidden door. She could potentially have a matchup with someone in Impact. She could go to Mexico. There's more options. So when it comes to Charlotte, it really, to me, is like, what would she want to do? Would she want to, have a matchup with someone like Britt Baker? Would she want to have a matchup with someone like Jade, Thunder Rosa? Like, think about all these different people. And then if she does something with, a woman at Impact or AAA, or go to Japan, the options are limitless with this forbidden door. So it really boils down to, what Charlotte will want to do, if that's something that she wants to do in her career when she feels that the timing is right. I do agree with you, Tommy. It's all about the timing at the end of the day.
And I agree with you that it has to do a lot with her goals. Like, now, if she's somebody who wants to really have wrestled like everyone all over the world and really, really hone her craft, because you got to remember, she's a product of the WWE farm system. She came up through the WWE. She was taught by the WWE. Everything that she's done has been in WWE. She hasn't worked for other companies before. Which isn't to say she hasn't wrestled around the world, but she's always wrestled under the WWE banner. So she's not getting to have the types of matches that you have in AEW and in TNA, I'm sorry, and stuff like that. So if she wants to do that sort of stuff, she's going to have to kind of relearn a little bit of what she does, because they run their shows differently. They work their matches differently. And that's great. It makes you grow as a wrestler and makes you a better, well-rounded wrestler. That's why people go and they train and they work in Japan and they work in Mexico and they go to Canada and then come back to the States, because then they're more well-rounded as a pro wrestler. If that's her goal, then in that case, she should absolutely go to AEW, because it will, like you said, afford her all of those opportunities to go to all sorts of different places and wrestle under different banners. So I just don't get the feeling from her that that's where she's at right now. I think she knows what she's got. It's a nice deal. She's an extremely talented wrestler. She's earned everything she has, for sure. But I don't know. I just don't think I would go messing with it right now.
Well, she's gonna have a nice deal wherever she goes, regardless. But I'll end this little segment by saying I will make a prediction. Magic Johngy Ball says she will be in AEW before the end of 2022.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that's like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, Mr. Calendar. I didn't say she was going tomorrow. I said was she meant to go.
All right,
she's got a contract. She can't leave tomorrow.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll make a prediction too. Maybe she'll be in AEW by 2026. All right. I'll say 2026. If she's going to be in there, she'll be there before 2026. That's what I'll say then. If you're gonna go a whole year and a half in the future, it's like.
Oh, okay. She'll be there by.
I'm betting $10. We're gonna get a sunny day, at least one day this month.
we need a new guest on this.
You might need a new host. You might need a new host, Candace. That I think is what the problem here is. Maybe you and I should be doing this and just get rid of this guy.
if I controlled the Zoom, man, you both would be off right now. I would just say,
Yeah.
just good job.
I could put you on mute. I could.
Well,
put
you're
you on
teaming
mute.
up with him, Candace. I can tell right now.
I'm waiting for you to it looks like you want to get to the next topic, and I'm ready. I'm here.
It's all
Yeah,
you.
well, come on, John. You're the host. Can we get to the next topic already? Can we move the
Candace.
show along here, please?
Candace, would you take us to the next topic in your own beautiful way?
Okay, thank you, John. My wonderful co-host. So since we're talking about AEW and potential big moves, I mean, what's on everyone's mind coming up for Rampage, which is tomorrow, or this Friday rather, the potential of CM Punk being on Rampage, which everyone, I mean, it's pretty much all but been confirmed. However, in wrestling, you just never know what will happen. We've been teased with it for some weeks now, and I'm starting to see memes where people are like, this is how it's going to be if CM Punk doesn't show up on Rampage. Like, people are already kind of gearing themselves up to be disappointed, which is interesting. I mean, that's, people are going to people. But at the same point, at least where I'm concerned, I have been actually in my mind preparing for this moment from the time when there were rumors about, this big name coming. This was right before Paul White showed up at AEW. And I remember people were like speculating. And the first person that popped into my mind was actually CM Punk. And when he didn't show up, I didn't lose hope. I was like, you know what? I manifested it into the universe. I was like, I want CM Punk to be at All Elite Wrestling. And lo and behold, the universe, I think, has answered my prayer. So I am so excited. I'm in the mindset where I believe he will show up at Rampage. I think it's going to be, will it overshadow SummerSlam? I mean, it's huge news, quite possibly. It's massive. So for him to show up on Rampage in Chicago, I can't even imagine how the crowd is going to be at that moment. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it, because it would be historic for this to happen. So I'm at the point where I'm just like, let's go. I'm ready for Rampage. I thought the first episode was awesome. It was a nice hour. I think that time frame is perfect. And I feel like when CM Punk shows up, it's just going to be, I mean, words really, I can't describe how I will feel at that point, but I will be happy. I will be extremely happy to see him there and to see what comes of it. So what do y'all think?
Well, Tommy and I are going to be there.
Yeah.
We are going to be.
We will be there tomorrow night. Yes.
Tomorrow night. I think absolutely, if Punk doesn't show up, it's going to be a major disappointment. It's going to be a major black eye for AEW. I don't know if I don't think he's going to wrestle tomorrow night. I think he might wrestle at the shows they have at the Sears Center in September, All Out.
Yeah.
But I think tomorrow night he makes an appearance, and I think he has to. It's the only thing that makes sense, and AEW needs him to do it. And Candace, it's an excellent point. It's the chance to take some of the sunshine away from WWE SummerSlam. If Punk shows up, the talk will all be about Punk.
I agree with that. If Punk shows up, well, I partially agree. If Punk shows up, I think it's going to be. I do think it's going to take a lot of the shine off of SummerSlam in the immediate moment. But I think that because that's Friday night, SummerSlam Saturday night, people will be watching SummerSlam, but they'll be talking about the CM Punk thing. As far as whether or not he shows, AEW has never once said that he was coming.
Mm-hmm.
They have not announced any talks with him that I'm aware of. Okay. So technically they're not on the hook for it. However, I agree that if he does not show, there's going to be a United Center full of people who will be ready to burn it to the ground.
Good luck.
Yes. And yes. And we may need to leave early. So I think that I remember back at I don't know if it was All Out or All In or whatever, which one it was, when they had it in Chicago way back when the thing was just starting. And a lot of people were like, well, it's in Chicago and CM Punk's going to come. And I remember telling this girl I was training as a wrestling student, she was like, big CM Punk fan, and she's like, and I told her, I said, he's not going to be there. I'm like, there's no way. The company at the time was way too young, and somebody like him coming in was just going to like make the company about him, and it would have overshadowed all the people who were trying to get up and get recognized and everything. Several years now, it's been like 2-3 years later, the company is very well established, and so are their talents. People know who these people are now, and if you don't watch WWE but you watch AEW, I mean, you're into it. You know who everyone is. There's solid storylines and factions, and everything's established now. So the odds of him coming now make way more sense, I think. I think the timing of they're also speculating about Daniel Bryan coming into the company. I think there's a lot of good reasons for Punk to do it. I think Punk's he's going to be on that show Heels that's coming out soon. So I think there's a lot of big reasons for him to get out there and finally do it. And plus, I just know that he just loves pro wrestling. And if he's going to be a part of something, these are his people. He's not really meant for the WWE if you have the alternative of AEW. I think he's an AEW type of guy. And I think that he's going to have a high bar to have to reach for, because people have been clamoring for this for so long and wanting it for so long, that when he comes back, it's like, yeah, like you said, tomorrow night, no, he's gonna, if he comes out and all he does is wave at everybody, the place will go nuts and everyone will go home happy. So, I mean, like, he doesn't have to do any wrestling, but at some point he's going to have to, and he's really going to have to bring it, because people have been waiting a long time and really expecting a lot, from him. So, I mean, they want to see like him and Daniel Bryan, and they want to see him and, all the other AEW guys start mixing it up and everything. And, it's like, you don't need to have him and Jericho, because we've seen that. Now, you could do that down the road if he was around for a couple of years or something like that. But in the meantime, you want to put him up against like Darby Allin and guys like that. So, right. Absolutely. It's so I'm leaning heavily towards him actually showing up and being there, which honestly is the only reason I'm really going to the show. Because
I thought we were just going for our bonding, hanging with Johngy.
No, I've had enough of you this week already, for sure. And now I'm dealing with this tonight on top of it. So this is like 3 days now this week I'll have had to see you. And then next week's going to be another busy one with you. I'm exhausted thinking about it. But I do if I didn't think he was going to be there tomorrow, if I wasn't feeling that strong about it, I might not have made it to the show. Saturdays are long work days for me, but I'm willing to go. And just because I was there when I was at Money in the Bank 2011 when Punk beat Cena and took the title and ran. That was the loudest crowd I have ever been in of any event, whether it was wrestling, a concert, anything. I have never been in such an electrified audience in my entire life. It was absolutely crazy. And the United Center is bigger than the Allstate Arena. And like I said, all it's going to take is for that guy to walk out, give a wave to everybody, and that place is just going to go absolutely insane. And for that alone, I think that's worth the price of admission, to feel that energy, to see everybody losing their minds and screaming and jumping up and down and people in tears and all that stuff. That's the best. That's what makes all of this worthwhile, is those moments. And if he comes out tomorrow night, that's going to be one of those moments. And I am grateful to John for hooking me up with a ticket so that I can go to this thing. So
I had no one else at that point. 67 people turned me down. So
he does something right once in a while, but I do appreciate it. So yeah, so we'll see. But I am definitely leaning towards it myself. I think it'll happen.
Well, we're all cheering for CM Punk to be there then.
Yeah.
Or any other topics? I'm sorry?
I do.
Oh, I'd love to see AJ there.
I'm putting it out into the universe. I don't even need to see AJ Lee wrestle. She's just iconic to me. So if she wants to do a little wave as well, I'm here to see AJ Lee just in the audience. It could be in the audience. It could be.
I'm sure she'll be there. If he's there, she'll be there, I'm sure. So
yeah, but not backstage. I'm like the camera zoom to AJ so she can leave, and I can be like AJ Lee because I love AJ Lee. So
as do I. Big AJ Lee fan.
John, you've interviewed her before, haven't you?
I've interviewed her. I helped promote her book at an appearance she made a couple of years ago. She wrote a book, obviously, on her her overcoming mental issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, and actually, CM Punk was at the event as well. He was extremely nice. Didn't talk a lot to him because I didn't want to bother him, but he was extremely nice despite the rumors of other things. You know, I think in proper settings, I think he's absolutely fine.
I've only met him twice. I think I've met him twice for about 2 seconds apiece, and he was perfectly fine with me.
Yeah, I think it's just he doesn't want to be bothered in his real life.
He actually was at one of the Resistance Pro shows that we did a private event for because Colt Cabana was working the show, and it was downtown in the city, so it must have been not far. And Punk came out, and he just kind of sat off in the corner, stood there in the corner drinking some water, you know, kept to himself. And it was funny because I think aside from the wrestlers there, I don't think anybody there knew who he even was. And, you know, I went over and just said hi and nice to meet you and left him alone. And but he was fine. He was very nice. And then I met him at one other occasion and stuff, and it was kind of the same thing. Just say, hey, how you doing? And, you know, so, but yeah, no, I will see. Could be a big weekend for wrestling either way. So
and we'll be there, and we'll be at the United Center watching that, and then we'll be home at our various homes watching WWE and seeing which one of us had the right calls.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how our predictions pan out.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Bianca and Sasha.
Yes. We'll be messaging each other.
I know.
Like we usually do on those. Hopefully it's good messages or where we actually like what's going on. So we'll see.
Oh, exactly.
Any other topics? Any other thoughts before we wrap this baby up?
Well,
you guys? Oh, I'm sorry, Tommy.
No, go ahead.
I don't know if thank you. I don't know if y'all watch Dark or Dark Elevation for AEW.
I don't watch it regularly. I've excuse me. The only times I've watched it is because I've had some friends and people who I've worked with before who have been on there and done some matches. So like I'll tune in to see them like have their matches and stuff. So my former tag team partner who I was champion with was on there a couple times. The Ego Robert Anthony, who both John and I know, was on there one summer, and so I would tune in to see his matches. So I caught Dark when, you know, there were people on there that I knew, but I can't say I watch it regularly enough. So
I would agree. Yeah, that's about. I've been watching it more, but I get more excited when there's
Melanie Cruz. I mean, like when there's been people we know, from back in the day. Pineapple Pete was a good friend of ours and who we spent a lot of time with over 7 or 8 years in Resistance Pro. Shug D, I mean, he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite people in the world and stuff. So when he was on there, and that wasn't even Dark, he was eventually on there with Jericho and all that stuff. So you know that but no, I don't really get to see it regularly though. So
yeah, it's okay. I mean, I brought it up just because I want to give a shout out to Kiera Hogan, who, if you guys are watching, if you know her from Impact, she was recently on, I believe it was Dark.
She's been in my car, Kiera Hogan.
So hi, Kiera.
I drove her from the airport, got her some lunch, and took her to a venue once. So
I love
it. She wrestled at Resistance Pro at least once, maybe twice.
Couple times.
Wow, yeah, shout out, because that was an excellent match that she had. And also Dante Martin, he's been killing it recently. He always has one half of Top Flight, but everyone's propping him up because he really is one of the guys to watch at AEW. So really great matches. He had a match with Lee Moriarty recently, and that was it was amazing. So
You had mentioned Ruby Soho earlier coming to AEW, and that's someone who I also wouldn't be surprised if she might end up making an appearance tomorrow night as well. Just because she's from Indiana and she's a regular in Chicago as far as independence, or she was, before WWE and stuff. And I see zero reason why she wouldn't join AEW. So, it's possible. I don't know if the timing will be right or not for her to be there tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised, only because a lot of people in Chicago know who she is, even outside of WWE. And I think she would get a really big reception out here. So that's someone I'll be keeping an eye out for too.
I would, yeah.
And while we're on the topic of AEW, real quick, as a little promo for Candace and I, we are going to be extending or expanding Pinfalls to cover the next AEW pay-per-view.
Finally,
yes. We're getting there. We started slow, we're building a little bit.
We're gonna inch our way in there. I feel you.
Yeah. But we are so for all the millions and millions or hundreds of viewers of Pinfalls, there will be an AEW edition coming out very soon. I'm not sure the exact date of the next pay-per-view with AEW, but I know it's coming quickly. Oh, it's all
out.
So within a couple weeks, we'll be doing the AEW Pinfalls debut.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. I can't wait. And also, really, really quickly, because we were talking about Ruby Soho, she did a promo recently on Twitter, and I love it. It's so
I saw
creative.
it with the train and everything. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I was like, this is the type of content I like to see. This type of creativity.
I'll tell you, I don't know what she uses on her skin, but her tattoos always look fresh, like they just like she just got them yesterday. I mean, and I mean, she's got, some of them are newer than others, but I mean, she's she's always like, she's got deep color in all of her tats, and everything is real, just like she's shiny, and she's always moisturized and everything. I'm always like, she's like, I don't know what she's doing, but she's keeping those things fresh, man. So
no doubt. So if you guys want to watch that, it's on her Twitter account, but it's for
I saw it yesterday. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen it, but I am going to check it out on your recommendation, because Candace, you never steer me wrong.
This is why we're here.
I listened.
Trust me, this whole thing is an act. We'll see what he says like in 6 months, when you're on the show with him. See how, because let me tell you, it's been, I've known him since like 2012, and I get no respect from this guy. And he came off real nice and friendly with me, and hey, can I do an interview with you and everything? Oh yeah, sure. He's a nice guy and everything. Yeah, just give it time. All right, it'll catch up to you. Just know that
Candace,
you have been warned. Okay.
Candace, I was going to end this episode by wishing Tommy a happy birthday, because his birthday is coming up. But I'm not going to now, because he's a jerk.
That's
so
okay.
we're just going to move on.
But you know what?
I got a lot of other friends.
But I think we should end before this breaks down into a pure six brawl, as Jim Ross would say.
My God.
So, Candace, anything you'd like to promote before we end?
Yeah. So just follow me on Instagram, that girl Candace. It's spelled just how you see it on the screen, CANDACE, with the numbers 16. And I'm also on Twitter at Candace Cordelia. For anyone watching that doesn't know, I am officially a contributor for Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I have some wonderful video interviews coming up. And also, if you read the magazine, I also have some content that's coming up in issues coming out very shortly. So just keep your eyes peeled with that. And follow me, because there's always something happening. I have other things in store. I am also a backstage interviewer in the wrestling scene, and we'll be getting back into that shortly, hopefully before the end of the year. So as things continue to open up live, just be on the lookout for me. Hopefully coming to a town near you. But if not, if you're not around, you're still staying at home, you're still keeping safe, and you can always catch me on digital and also on my social media. So Thank you.
Well, I've watched your interviews, excellent interviews at Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Excellent.
Thank you so much, Don. As are yours. As are yours. They're always
Well, thank you. Except for the ones I did with Tommy. So Tommy, anything you want to promote?
See what
Tommy,
I'm saying? See what
there?
I'm saying here? Well, I guess if I'm going to promote something, maybe I'll promote my my just it's a cross I must bear. It's called the Johngy or Else podcast, where me and this guy get together once a week and talk about everything from entertainment to wrestling, movies, and various random topics as well. You can find us on Facebook at the Johngy or Else podcast. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Tommy_else. And I guess that's all I'll push for now. I do thank you both for letting me be a part of the show. And Candace, you have my deepest sympathies. If you ever need to vent, to someone who knows what it's like to have to do a show with this guy, just let me know. I understand. And maybe I can give you some advice as to how to steer around all the things that is John Wroblewski. So thank you again, though.
All right, on that happy little note, it's been a pleasure, Candace, as always. Tommy, it's been. So for Pinfalls, episode number 4, SummerSlam preview, analysis, predictions, I am Johngy. Enjoy the show, and we'll be back soon.